The Fall Guy. This will be the spoiler review. I do have a review up on my blog, soundedbettermyhead.com. Pretty much no spoilers in there, so if you want to check that out. Not like it's a big spoiler-filled movie. There are obviously a couple twists to it because there's a mystery involved, but I gave this a 2 out of 5. It was just underwhelming. I heard a lot of good reviews about it. I did watch occasionally the Fall Guy TV series back in the day. I barely remember it. You know, obviously I remember the theme song and I remember the gist of it. You know, that he's basically a guy's got stuntman expertise. He uses that in his weekly adventures. So, I'm not worried about how they changed the IP from how the TV show was. I'm just trying to be entertained. The marketing for this movie, it looked like it was going to be an action comedy. There's obviously going to be a love story, and a lot of it was about this mystery that he's involved in. There's the actor's missing. He's got to find him. I'm like, okay, I want to see this action kind of comedy thing with the stunt stuff involved, and then he's got the love story. But really, say the first 3/4 of the film, it feels like, it's basically the love story. It's basically a rom-com with a little bit of action thrown in, and occasionally they touch on this mystery where this actor is, and that picks up more and more as the movie goes on. But it's really a love story, like pretty blatantly, and it's like not even like overtly like telling you where it's basically overtly telling you where the story's kind of going. So that kind of threw me. There was a lot of bit of a self-awareness to it. There's like a real quirky style, like the way they did certain things that I'll probably talk about in a minute here. Just this opening narration and just the way they did the opening was kind of throwing me. Like it took me a really long time to get into this movie. Like, okay, I'm trying to figure out what the point is besides the love story, because that's not what brought me to the seat. And it takes a while to get there. I mean, it helps that all the actors are good, but a lot of times they're a bit of a caricature of a real person. Like, it doesn't often feel like you're watching people. It's just they're characters in a movie, and that's almost cartoony in a way. I did like the intro, nice decent setup once they got past all this weird, narration and all this stuff. And obviously they get him to this movie set, which is where the movie really begins. And it gets weird, especially, it seems like they were trying to be real hush-hush about the relationship when he was a stuntman and she was a camera operator. And now that she's the director on this big budget movie and he's like the stuntman, you think they'd even really want to keep this stuff like on the DL, but she's basically telling everybody on the set like their whole fucking life story by framing it as the characters in the movie. But it's clear that everybody that she's talking about her and the stuntman. And again, it's just kind of weird. Like, it's not like he's trying to win over. It's not like she hates him. Like, she could tell she's obviously still wants to be with him from the get-go. It's not like he's trying to win her back. It's like he pissed her off, but it wasn't to the point where it looks like it's past the point of no return. So it's kind of a weird way they do it. It's not like you would expect from a movie like this with the setup for this. Again, they do slightly touch on the mystery, but it's just kind of all over the place. It's like, all right, okay, I got to go check this apartment. Then he's goes to this bar. I'm like, all right, now this plot's going, and it kind of gets sidetracked for a while. Goes back to the love story again, and then they just weird thing. It could have been a pretty cool action sequence in the bar, but they did it where he was doped up, so it's like kind of literally cartoony stuff overlaid on it. It's like it looked like it was a cool action scene, and it's like you can't really focus on what he's doing because for the most part it's in like slow motion and there's these little graphics drawn over everything. It would be a good way if it was like more of an R-rated fight scene to kind of tone it down for PG-13 by putting this stuff over it, but it's not what they did. And then it said this, it feels like it gets to a point where it's going to go somewhere and then it just kind of gets direct. Like the mystery is never that engaging. It doesn't feel like he's really doing anything that special except that he could fight and get his way out of a scrap when the scraps happen. Like I wasn't expecting him necessarily to be a detective, but it's like he was just kind of half-assed doing it. It felt like it was like more about trying to win the girl back, which again is fine. I don't have a problem with the love story being there at all. It's just it was so prominent. Gets a little tongue-in-cheek, or whatever you want to call it, self-aware. It's like doing the split screen as they're talking about split screen, so it's almost breaking the fourth wall. The movie has a weird thing where it really brings attention to the world of stunts. So it's like you kind of know when they're doing a stunt for real. It's like, okay, this is really a guy getting hit by a car. This is really a guy jumping over whatever with a car. Like, you kind of makes you focus on it, but it almost takes you out of it a little bit because it's like, okay, what's the trick? Because obviously Gosling's not going to do some of these stunts. It's got to be somebody else, or something's got to be like kind of fake about it. And it's like, it feels like it breaks the wall of it, like almost like it stops. Like, all right, stop. We're going to do a real stunt. Okay, now back to the movie. Here's a cowboy switch. Ryan Gosling's back in the movie again. Like, it's kind of weird the way they do it. Like, I know he did some of his own stuff, and granted there was like safety wires and stuff that they edited out, but it's kind of weird. You're like paying homage to the stuntmen by still sweeping them under the rug in a way. It's kind of hard to, like, for my brain to reconcile why I watch this movie sometimes. And then you get basically the big plot twist is that the actor that he was looking for accidentally killed a guy, and even though it was purely an accident, his agent decides to have him lay low, and she decides to call this old retired stuntman up and try to frame him. And I'm assuming their plan was just to drug him and go from there, but he was able to fight out of it, because otherwise it gets even ridiculously convoluted. And supposedly they were going to have him drive over some ledge at one point and look like a murder-suicide, and then they decide to tie him up and light him on fire, which blatantly looks like murder. You can't have your hands tied behind your back and then douse yourself with 2 cans of gasoline and set yourself on fire. So now that looks like a murder, so that's even more stupid. Again, the actor's not the brightest guy, but it's like, no one told him this is going to look like a murder, not a suicide. Like, as I said, there's some logical dips at this wrap up. And then they get the movie's one rare heartfelt moment is when he does call, his girlfriend and kind of confess how he's feeling. They actually get to do some real acting there. And obviously, he's not dead when he crashes the boat. I wish they would have held the reveal a little bit long, even though it's like, okay, he faked it. And I did like the little Miami Vice nod there and throwing in the music, the way they set that up. But I think it would be better, like, she looks like she's getting attacked by this guy in a costume, and they go, no, it's they decide they gotta take her out too, because they're looking for the stunt coordinator, because they knew he was involved. They know he knew something, so they're trying to track him down. It's like, okay, maybe they come after her. And then the whole time it's Ryan Gosling's character. I think they should have waited till she takes the mask off him, then you maybe show him swimming away from the explosion, and then you're like, okay, he's alive. I mean, obviously you probably would have known, but it made it a funnier scene. I guess they went for the comedy of him getting beat up by her because she didn't know it was him, and the audience did, as opposed to being a surprise that he survived and she was beating him up. I would have went the other way, but I'm not a director. What do I know? I'm just recording this in my bedroom. And then I think finally, though, right around here, the film finally becomes what I thought it felt like it should have been. You got the romance, you got the comedy, you got the action, and the mystery solved by this point, but the ramifications from what happened, and it's still a little action at the end's not the greatest, but I felt like they finally came together, like that last half an hour maybe. Like, okay, this is kind of the movie I wanted to see. It's not nailing it, but it's about what I was signing up for. And then it basically, it wraps up, and everything's good. So I think that last half hour really saved this. This could have been like maybe a 1-star movie, 1.5-star movie. I don't know how low I would have went. I think just the last half hour salvaged this from me going, because I was bored a lot. I'm like, I don't know where we're going with this. And I think that the ending really I ended on an upbeat tone. I did like that during the credits, you do see a lot of that legit stunts and how they did some of the stuff, and like, the crash pads that they took out later, and where they had to use CGI to replace stuff. And that was, for what the movie was, that was a good, display of the stunt work. And I know the director is a former stuntman, so, I do appreciate that. They've used a nice little mid-credit scene, brings back a couple actors from the original Fall Guys series. A little cheesy, a little like, okay, a little on the nose, but, I'm glad they got to work them in. And they did throw in a version of the Fall Guy theme, or, during the credits, so that was nice. Other than that, it was just okay. I was a little disappointed. It was getting a lot of good reviews. I thought they just missed the mark on a lot of stuff. And it did have some moments. It wasn't really that funny. It was supposed to be a comedy. And I think the movie was so over the top, it was kind of hard to, like, there's so much funny stuff coming at you. Like, when the jokes happen, like, most of them aren't that funny because, I don't know, just the way the movie's presented. But that's about it. I don't want to go on for too long. It's not like some movie people are going to be talking about for years or anything. It was just this week's, flavor of the week or whatever. Like I said, I do got the non-spoiler version of this review up. I got some other reviews, TV shows, some other movies. I got my comic strips. Those are all sounding better in my head.com. So if you want to check that out, that's awesome. On that, thanks for watching.